Well, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and start this this video out by, the standard old procedure of putting the tuner in the sink, and we're going to give it a good spray with some kind of cleaner. The stuff I'm using here is some new stuff called Greased Lightning. I never heard of it. I don't know, but we're going to give it a good soaking, and then we're going to let it. Now, do this with the blades open, but be very careful. Don't drop it and bend those blades, okay? Just be careful. You can do it. Let it soak for a while. This old tuner wasn't turning quite as easily as it should, and this will get the crud and the grease out and everything. And then we'll work on the rust later. So we'll let that sit for about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll give it a good spray down. Alright, here we go. We're just going to go ahead and just blast it with scalding hot water. Oh man, this wasn't clean already. Look at that. Those little blades are starting to shine up. Just turn it around, nice and easy like. Just give her the old, just the old blast it. Give it everything you got. And it'll knock off a lot of that old grease, because this is going to go into the this thing will go into the ultrasonic cleaner next. Tell you what, let's go ahead and dive into this chassis, and let's get some things done around here. First thing I'm going to do, I think, is go ahead and this stiff wire here that ran up here and connected to this pin on this socket right here. We're going to go ahead and clip that back and run a black stranded wire up there. Let's get that done. Once that's done, everything will be reconnected as it once was, with the exception of the ground on this capacitor right here, okay? Well, we made a little progress today. We changed these four here, and as expected, it was very slow going. That leaves us with this capacitor here and this capacitor here. Now, we can get to these ends real easy, but you can't get to the bottom ends down there on the opposite side, because they go way down in, and you can't get to them from underneath. Well, what do? How do you get those capacitors out of there if you can't get down there to the bottom? Now, if I can get the smaller capacitors in there, I'll be able to get down there, with my soldering iron. But these capacitors take up the entire space. Well, that's going to be an interesting trick, but I have an idea. Well, I've run it through a couple of cycles, and you can see how dirty the water is getting already. What I'm going to do now is turn it around the other way, and we'll run it through a couple of cycles in this direction. Can't beat these ultrasonic cleaners. You just can't. They really do the job. I didn't have a whole lot of cleaner this time, so I used Pine Sol. It's a cleaner. It works. And that's it. We'll run it through 2-3 times. Hey, you guys mind? I'm trying to film here, dummy dogs. Look how nasty that water's getting now. Getting worse by the minute. I'm going to set it up again. And one more. It's cleaning it for sure. It was looking real good, so I went ahead and changed the water. Added a little more Pine Sol. And we're going to go ahead and give it another cleaning. This thing is really shining up nice. I probably won't have to do hardly any work on it at all, if any. There's actually two ways to remove these buried in capacitors. And the bottom of each capacitor is soldered directly onto one of these tabs you see here, but it's buried down in there. There's almost no lead at all. They got up real close to it. At least that's what it looks like. So there's no way I can get down there to get it, and there's no way I can get it from the bottom. So what do? Well, up here you'll see that this end of both of the capacitors is grounded. Then they ran a lead from there up through the top of the RF chassis and connected it to the bottom of the tuner. Well, the first thing we need to do is get a little swing room here. So let's go ahead and cut this off right here. And let's cut this one off right here and get rid of both of these. Let me see, I want to cut it at the right spot. There we go. Now we can go ahead and get those wires up out of the way, like so. Now we've got a couple of loose capacitors. Now one way we can do this is to take a pair of needle nose vice grips. You know, you can reach down in there as far as you can and just smash that thing flat. Alright, you can smash it flat and then keep smashing it flat, and eventually you'll get it flattened up enough to where you can actually see down in there, and maybe even reach down in there with a pair of dikes deep enough to where you can cut off that lead at the opposite end. Okay, that's one way of doing it. The second way is to just take the capacitor, the one that's the loosest, actually probably this one's the loosest. This one here is kind of really tight. I don't know if they're the same size or not. They don't look like the same value. Let's just do one at a time. And all I have to do is just kind of start twisting it. And twisting it and turning it and turning it and turning it. Slowly. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Got to take your time. And you can actually twist that lead right off the bottom down there. But you have to be careful not to twist too hard and too fast, because you might damage the tab that it's soldered to down there, okay? So let's see what happens. I'm going to try to do a little twisting here. It's kind of a really tight quarters here. Just kind of twist. Sometimes we get lucky and the lead twists right out of the bottom of the capacitor, and it leaves quite a bit. It's kind of hard doing it one-handed, but it can be done. We just got to carefully do it, carefully do it, carefully do it. Wiggle it back and forth a little bit, very carefully. Hopefully that'll work. Back and forth, back and forth. You got to play with it a long time, and that's what I'm going to be doing. Let me go ahead and work on this. It may take quite a while to get that thing to snap off, but you got to take your time. Alright, she just broke loose. I could feel it break loose. Now I'm going to pull that out of there, and we're going to have one of two things. We're going to either have the stub of a capacitor lead on, you know, sticking up, staring us in the face, or we're going to have a mangled band switch tab. But I don't think that's going to be the case on the tab, because it spun around pretty good until she finally popped off. So let's see what's going on here. Alright, let me get this little flashlight over here. What have we got here? Well, well, well. See that shiny little tip down there right in the center of that square? That's the top of a capacitor lead. We are in good shape. See, I've got about, my goodness, I got about 1/4 of an inch of a capacitor lead I can now solder to. That's fantastic. Alright. Alright, as always, you know, take your acid brush with alcohol and get down in there and clean it, you know, the stub up real good. Get all the dirt and crap and everything, you know, out of there. We're going to need all the help we can here, you know, because that thing is really crudted with dirt, and it'll prevent us from getting a good solder joint. We don't want that. Alright, that's looking real good down in there, nice and shiny. Yeah. Alright, now, here is where the coil, those coils on the end of the electronic components come in handy. This is where they really come in handy, because I can see the stub down in there, and I'm going to replace that coil right over that stub. Just like that. Now look at there, it's holding it in all by itself. Now I'll just reach down there and solder it up with my soldering iron. I got plenty of room down in there now to get the tip of my soldering iron right down in there, okay? Nothing to it, I'm telling you. Well, that one went so well that I think I'll just go ahead and just twist this one out instead of smashing it. But she's all in there now, and the bottom lead is not interfering with the band switch shaft. You don't want that bottom lead to be rubbing against that shaft, okay? I did insulate it, and just in case it decides to kind of creep over the next few years, I don't know. Piece of cake on that one. Let's move over to the last capacitor. Alright, that one was a little toughy, but she eventually came off, but we still got a nice stub sticking up in the air. See it right there, that the shiny end of it? That one there is almost a 1/2 inch stub. We're going to leave it there too. That'll mean the cap will have plenty of, you know, lead to slip down on. Interesting thing about these two capacitors I just took out, both of them are rated at 0.05 microfarads and 200 volts, but look at this difference in size. Same exact value in working voltage for both of them, but they're different sizes. Well, I'm happy to say that all the capacitors have now been changed, and I checked every resistor that I could get to with the multimeter, and every single one is within tolerance. I can't believe it. Now there is one way down in here. See if I can get it where you can see it. I doubt that you'll be able to see it. It's buried down in there. That one is out of tolerance, but there's not really anything I can do about that. You know, you don't want to wind up doing more damage than good by trying to replace something like that. In order to replace that, I'd have to remove the entire mechanism, and I don't want to do that, you know. So what we're going to do now is there was a ground wire that came from this point and came from this point and stuck up through the lid up here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to replace those with nice new black wires. So we're going to have a black wire there and a black wire there. Then we're going to take a nice white wire. We're going to remove this old trashy looking thing, and we're going to replace this. Put the nice white wire on. As soon as we get done, we have a few more wires I want to change. Alright, that little tasking is done. We've got the nice white wire in here, right there, and the black one and the black one. Now the next thing we want to do is, when I remove that small electrolytic can, I cut the contact to where it left the soldered wires in place. We're going to now correct that, and now that we can get to it, what I'm going to do is there's a single wire that runs from here over to here, and then this will connect into it either here or here. So I'm going to run a white wire from this socket terminal over to this one, and then I'm going to splice on a green wire on here and either solder it there or solder it there. Now, I'd probably solder it there because it's a whole lot easier. So let's undo this mess. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll just let you watch me. Ooh, it's cutting time. Ooh, I love it. I love it. Here we go. Chop, chop. Oh, now I feel like I'm back in the swing of things, you know? Alright, we're about all done here. I'm almost ready to close the lid. I went ahead and put that wire on between the two sockets and then soldered. I decided, instead of splicing a wire onto this green one here, we'll just go ahead and replace the entire wire. So once I flip this thing back up and I resolder this, I'll just go ahead and pull this wire out and it'll be gone. And there might be, I think I'm going to have to replace this wire right here too. Well, there's the tuner, all cleaned up and looking really nice. Boy, I'll tell you what, this thing turned out so good and so clean. It's amazing. I don't think I'm going to have to do anything to it. Just a little oil. Wow, it turned out really nice. Check out the bottom of that thing. Look at that. Boy, I'll tell you, it just gleams. And it works so easily. I mean, just barely touch the gear and it moves it. Man, that's terrific. Just spectacular. There's not any crud anywhere on that. Look at that. Yeah, you can't beat those ultrasonic cleaners. They just do just a fantastic job all the way around. I tell you, I'm impressed. Not a lick of dirt on that thing anywhere. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Hope you enjoyed this and learned something new. I always learn something new from these things myself. Every time I do something, someone always says, I always learn something from your videos. Well, so do I. We're all in the same boat, okay? Anyway, until next time, this is John.